He's fucking brilliant. He's brilliant on it's like a give and a take, you know?
Yeah.
Happy day, man. Looking nice and cash.
Yeah, do I?
Yeah.
Right,
You're a little bit casual. Just smile, man. Just relax. You got this. You got this. You got this. So, what have we got for you, man? I want you to...
Feel comfortable?
Yeah, you do look comfortable. I'm looking comfortable.
Yeah, you do.
I don't feel that comfortable.
Oh, really?
So I've been kiting for around 20 years, on and off. Not on and off, actually, lots. I just say on and off because 20 years doesn't really reflect my ability. And teaching for the last 14 years. So during those times, I've heard all the questions people ask. Generally, 95% to 99% of people I've taught are all total beginners. I feel that's what we specialise in. We get a lot of frequently asked questions, and we see them written down a lot, but thought it would be nice if we could put a little bit of video together just to kind of talk through the most frequently asked questions, the questions that people are asking, the preconceptions of learning to kitesurf. So that is what we're doing here today. Hopefully you'll answer some of your questions. If not, you can always make some comments on this video and we can get back to you on those. So I'll pass you over to Marlon. Marlon is an instructor here at Exmouth Surf Centre. So he's, he'll introduce himself a little bit better.
Yeah. Hey, my name is Marlon. I've been kiting for a bit over than 3 years now. And I've been kite instructing also for a bit over than a year at Exmouth Surf Centre. And yeah, like Tom said, we get very similar frequently asked questions, which we are here to answer. And so this video is really for people that are considering getting into kiting and just really have no idea. And yeah, hopefully we get to clear a few questions up for you.
Yeah, let's kick it off. So I think out of all the questions that I've ever been asked for kite surfing or learning to kite surf, the one always comes up, and it's always about strength. So the number one question, we'll start at the top, is do I need to be strong? Over to you, Marlon. I'm going to let you sort of run your thoughts and experience over that. Do I need to be strong to kite surf?
Short answer, no. So all the strength that is required, you'll gain, and like a lot of it is just you're holding on with a harness. So it's not like you're actually holding the kite and the kite is pulling you. So it's more that that you're stable with your weight, and so I would say the main muscles that is required is legs and maybe a little bit of stomach. But yeah, I don't know, what do you reckon, Tom?
Kiting is all about kite size to body weight. So actually, when people see someone flying a kite, their initial impression is they're controlling the kite with their hands. It's actually, yes, that's the case, they are controlling the kite with their hands, but the power is not coming through your hands. It's actually extremely light on your hands. What's happening when we fly our kitesurf kite, and I'll just grab this over here, we wear a harness. Now this goes around the core of your body, and you'll see here, this clips around. Now what actually happens here is part of our kitesurf system connects onto this bar here, and that means that now we're controlling the power of the kite through our body, not through our arms. So actually, apart from your general level of fitness that we suggest having, but not a sort of athlete level, you don't need to be particularly strong. The lighter you are, the smaller the kite you'll need. So most of the muscles that you require for kiting, like any sport when you start to learn it, you don't necessarily have, but they will grow with you. So I would say, do I need to be strong in that question is actually no, because that question means that people are thinking it's about upper body strength, which it just isn't. So if you're not particularly strong or a small person, you can absolutely still kite. In fact, I think that probably as a smaller person, learning to kite surf is actually a little bit easier because generally you don't have so much mass like me. and you can get yourself going a little better. You can use a smaller kite, and you're also getting out on the lighter wind day. So to answer that question in short, no, you don't need to be strong, and you don't have to be heavy, because we use different size kites for different weighted people. So the same person, if you've got a 100-kilogram guy, can be kite surfing on the same day as a 30-kilogram kid. With different kite sizes, they are having the same experience. So no is the basic answer to that question.
Yep.
Did you have anything else to add to that?
No, but I guess that answers another question of, I'm very small, can I still kite?
Yeah, well, you are very small, Marlon, but yeah, of course, it's exactly the same thing. Look, where equipment allows, obviously, I feel like this will go into a slightly different topic here as well. If you're a small person, that's not a problem. Obviously, the smaller you are, you need specific equipment for that. So, and nowadays equipment is so vast and so user friendly that body size doesn't matter. If you're a small person, I think that you're actually going to benefit more than being heavy in this sport as a general rule. So it's the same. It's the same question we just answered. I don't think being small or not being particularly strong in the upper body is not holding you back at all. So if that's something that you've been concerned about, come get it. We'll show you that it's not going to be a problem for you.
Will I get blown out to sea? So, not really. No, not at all.
You shouldn't, right?
You're doing something really wrong if you are.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there are like the main safe practices, and if you follow those, there's no way you're gonna get blown out of the sea. So for like the big thing is we tend to only go kiting when there's onshore wind.
Not tend to. Always only go kiting. Always only go kiting. Always only go kiting.
All right, always.
I don't know what you do on the weekend, man. But we always go kite surfing.
Yeah, you never go bombing, so.
Yeah. No, it's not as I say, not as I do, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, good point. Yeah, will I get blown out to sea? Look, in the initial, that's another big question. People look at kite surfing and they want to do it, but they're worried that they're going to get blown out to sea. It's a really common one, and it's a legit concern, because when you look at kite surfing, you don't necessarily understand the dynamics that are going on there. Now, like Marlon mentioned, our number one rule for kite surfing is we don't go kite surfing when the wind is offshore. So that means that the wind is blowing from land to water, because if you have a problem, then you're going to get blown out to sea. Now, we only go kite surfing when the wind is onshore, so even if you're not in control of your kite or it's not flying, the wind will naturally push you back to the beach anyway. Now, in the first hour of flying the kite, we give you, the key is in those first 2 hours of flying. The first lesson is so important because we're giving you this understanding of how the kite flies, where it sits in position to where you get pulled from. And it's as simple as this. The kite goes, at its very basic, you put the kite in one direction, that's the way it pulls you. So therefore, if you point the kite towards the beach, which you'll know how to do after pretty much an hour of flying the kite, it will pull you in that direction. So it's very simple. It is just like steering. So will I get blown out to sea? As long as you play by the rules and you learn in a correct, safe environment, absolutely we can limit any chance of that happening to the point where it's almost not an issue. But a very real concern of people that don't understand. And obviously no one wants to get blown out to sea.
Yeah.
So I get it. So good question.
And here's the equipment one. It appears like there's a lot of equipment involved. And yeah, so what equipment is required? Let's say a normal kite setup.
Yeah, so the is it a lot of equipment? That's a big question, and particularly up here in Exmouth where we're teaching, a lot of the people that we teach come from other sports background, generally surfing. Now, obviously, compared to surfing, it's more equipment. So basically, we have a few key elements. We've got a kite, obviously, we've got a bar, but I call those one piece because it is. We've got a harness, we've got a board. So technically, at its most simplest, it's not a ton of equipment. I think, one of the reasons why, and excuse me for going off on one a little bit here, but one of the reasons why kite surfing became such a popular sport over windsurfing is it's actually super equipment non-heavy. So what I mean by that is you can pack this stuff up and go traveling with it quite easily. One kite, you know, a lot of people get away with a one kite option. Two's probably the reality when you get into this in a big way. I know that Marlon, for example, generally runs two sizes of kites, one for strong winds, one for lighter winds, vice versa. But the reality is no, I don't think it's particularly equipment heavy. You know, there is more gear than skateboarding or surfing, but in reality, you know, if you're doing any other sport like motorbikes, boating, fishing, it's actually very equipment light. And yeah, I think that what you get for that equipment is just, it's golden. All right, let's go into this one now. Now, I'm going to give this one over to Marlon for you because it suits him more than me, I think. One of the biggest questions I asked, and we've probably tapped on it a little bit, is do I need to be fit? What is the level of fitness I need? I think is more of an adequate question.
You definitely require some fitness level. If you don't, you're just gonna be out of breath very quickly. But that being said, I reckon in the early stages, it's testing you more when you're struggling to go upwind, and you always have to walk the kite upwind on the beach. That can be very exhausting. But once you get over that, it doesn't require much fitness level. So, but what I do reckon is required some sort of flexibility, as simple as putting on the board. People struggle with that. So, yeah, if you have the kite, if you're in the water, you're submerged in water, and you have the kite at 12 o'clock and you're trying to put on the board, some people struggle with that, and that's mainly because of flexibility rather than fitness. But yeah, it's the same with strength. The fitness will come along as you keep going out. So I guess the key thing is just to continue going out, and if you can't do a 2-hour session, do 1-hour sessions. Simple as that.
Yeah, look, I think you've hit the nail on the head there. But to simplify it again, I mean, I think you touched on it. Look, don't, obviously, like anything that you're going to do, you have to have a certain level of fitness. But we're not talking about an athlete style of fitness. You know, if you know, the ability to be able to move around but I think that generally speaking, when someone is looking at kite surfing as a sport to get into, people are pretty good at judging their own ability. Now, you need to be able to swim. Obviously, that's an absolute must. You know, you don't have to go out further than you can physically swim, so there's one thing to think about. But I think that I would say you probably don't need to be as fit as most people think you need to be to get into the sport. General level of fitness to be able to look after yourself, but you know, lots of people I've seen come into kite surfing that are probably, you know, maybe not let themselves go. That's not a nice thing to say, but a little bit sort of. It's not necessarily a young sport. It's getting more so. It's pretty cool up here now at the moment. We've got some kids getting into it, but a lot of people that get into this, they haven't been surfing for a long time. Look, I've seen people get very fit because they start kite surfing. So I think my answer to that question is, don't actually let your fitness put you off this. Speak to us about it, because you'll be surprised. If you can run a couple hundred meters, you can swim a couple hundred meters, I feel like that's a level of fitness. I also think that if you're looking at kite surfing and thinking, I like the look of that, I want to do it, I feel you may be answering your own question there, because you know if you can do this, because I think that you don't put yourself in a situation that you won't be in, and I feel that fitness is something that you can work on, and kite surfing maybe could be your kickstart to getting fitter. You know, like Marlon said, it's not actually, once you're up and running, I feel like the learning process is probably the time where you're getting the most tired. Once you're actually out kite surfing, it's not very energy using, it's quite mellow. Learning, yes, there's a bit of walking, there's a bit of, like anything when you're doing something new, your muscles are getting used to it, but I think that the general level of fitness, you do need fitness, but I don't stress too much about it. I've never had someone come to a lesson that I've said you're not fit enough to kite surf. And I hope it never happens, but it hasn't even come close yet.
Yeah.
All right, let me give you another question, Marlon. You happy with that? You happy
Yeah.
to move on from there?
Yeah.
All right, so this one comes up quite a bit, and it's a very legit question from people that don't understand anything about kite surfing. We're talking about questions before you've even touched the kite or you're watching it. Obviously people see kites flying in the sky, but a lot of people ask me what happens if, or more likely when, my kite crashes in the water. Obviously it's not flying anymore, so what happens in this situation? A lot of people think that might be the session over or they can't kite anymore, but I'm going to pass it over to Marlon. So what happens if my kite crashes in the water?
You simply relaunch it.
Simply, easy as that. If only there was a team that could teach you to do this stuff, right? That's it. exmouthsurfcenter.com.au, right? We got you. Go for it, Marlon.
Yeah, I mean, it's as simple as that. Usually the kite is downwind of you. The kite is, or should never be, upwind of you. And what you do is you simply pull one steering line, bring the kite to the edge of the window. I'm getting a bit too technical, but the answer is yes, you can. And
generally, how safe is kiting? And not so much how safe is kiting, but in comparison to other sports that people might do, especially other sports in that area, say skating, surfing, snowboarding, people, because obviously you see someone kite surfing and you don't really know anything about the dynamics of it. How safe is kiting, and can we compare it to any other sports? Over to you, Mr. Marlon.
Yeah, I'd like to answer this question.
Good.
Because I have heaps of arguments with that with surfer friends.
Good man, take it from there.
So the thing with kiting is you're battling wind, which is gas, and with surfing you're battling water. Your force is water, and what would you rather be hit with, water or gas? And same, no?
I don't know. I'm curious to know where you're going with this.
Well, I mean, that's what it is. Yeah. It's obviously you're still on the
wind
water.
Gas?
Yeah, of course.
Is it?
Yeah, gas is just a state.
Okay, cool.
And there's liquid, gas, and solid. And so.
Isn't wind pressure?
Well, yes, but it's in a gaseous state.
There you go. I'll believe you. I've never even thought about it before.
Well, and then with skating, obviously it's concrete.
You're battling the concrete.
Kind of. And so I think it's a lot safer than surfing. Especially here in Exmouth, because we have very nice southwesterly, the sea breeze that we rely on.
The wind.
The wind, which is very consistent, and it doesn't really change direction much. So in that sense, I think it's very safe. Obviously, later on, when you get into more nuanced stuff like jumping or tricks, then it can get a bit more dangerous. But if you just want to go for a ride, it's definitely safer than, let's say, surfing. With surfing, for example, you have waves, and each time you fall in the water, you can hit your head, or the fin can hit you. You're always strapped to a board, so that can sort of bungee back right at you. Whereas with kiting, you just don't have that. And when you hit the water, it's not as bad as it looks as well.
Yeah, agreed. It's not as high impact as people think it's going to.
Yeah, like sometimes it looks like you crashed insanely hard, but you just get right back up and continue your session. So in that sense, I really don't think it's an unsafe sport, especially if you follow the normal safety guidelines.
Yeah. I tend to agree. I'll just jump in there and give a few words on that one as well. I feel like this is a perfect moment to shamelessly plug what we do. We're a kitesurf school. I feel like I feel with kite surfing, I think that it's much safer than people originally think when they're looking at it. When you watch someone kite surfing, it looks extreme. Now, it is an extreme sport, but I really think that it's actually a very safe one. I mean, safe in the sense that if you understand what you're doing. I think it could be potentially very dangerous if you don't play by a few basic sets of rules. Now, that is what we outline in our lessons from start to finish. I mean, safety is the number one. That's where it all starts. Everything is about safety, and that's to give you the tools to move forward with. So I think that when you play by rules, as long as you don't push limits, that's like any sport. If you're not pushing limits to the point of danger, and I'm not talking about progressing in the sport, but I'm talking about a few simple sets of rules that keep kitesurfing a very safe sport, and particularly in the last 5 years, or probably even back further than 5 years to be fair, 5 to 8 years, the development in equipment towards safe, user-friendly beginner gear, it's chalk and cheese. The kites that we're teaching on now in particular are just, they're effortless. It makes everything very safe as long as you are respectful of the environment and the conditions and the basic kiting rules. I think it's a very safe sport.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the unsafest part when you get into kiting is our tendency to tense up when we freak out, and so when you pull in the bar, that's when you also get power from the kite, and this is the main focus in the beginning, to really avoid pulling in that bar. But other than that, I don't consider it an unsafe sport at all. And like we touched on before, if you're a relatively small person, we just give you a smaller kite. It's as simple as that.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to move on now, and I'm going to actually ask this question and go straight into an answer for it. So I actually got this question from somebody recently. I guess this person may have been watching kite surfing and seen that we're quite lucky being in Exmouth. We don't have big crowds, it's not very busy, but sometimes if you go down to Perth area, you might find that you're looking at a sky full of kites and it looks like absolute mayhem. So someone's asked me after watching that environment, it's like, how do kites not crash into each other? Or is it likely I'm going to crash my kite into someone? Now, the reality of this situation is whilst what looks like potential carnage to the untrained eye is actually a flow of kites moving in the same direction. So no is the answer. You shouldn't be crashing into other people. Now, we do have and we do teach the rights of way rules during your lessons, and this is a general rule surrounding collisions, so basically to stop collisions happening. But I know what it looks like when you go down to a beach and you don't know about kite surfing, you just see a sky full of kites, but everyone is moving in the same flow. So if we're going to the right, we're all moving together. So actually, whilst those kites look close together, they shouldn't be. And generally speaking, it's the ocean. You can find your space away from everybody. I'm not going to say that kites never twist and tangle, but it absolutely shouldn't happen. It really, if it happens, it's not because it's happened, it's because someone has done something they shouldn't do, or they're not paying attention, or they're kite surfing too close. So generally speaking, it shouldn't happen. I'm not going to say it can't happen, but it's not something that is regularly happening. I don't remember if I've ever tangled with someone, or I don't remember actually doing it. Marlon might be a bit different because he's a bit.
It's never happened to me. Not bad. Like, it just sort of, my line bounced on someone else's line, but it wasn't a big deal. But yeah, as long as you follow the right of way, it just shouldn't happen.
Without getting overly technical on this one, Mr. Marlon, go for this one, all right? Nice and simple. Obviously, to go kite surfing, we need the wind. So, I'm not people say to me, I don't understand about winds and weather forecasting and stuff. So how much, realistically now, without getting too complicated on this, because you can look into forecasts to the depth of however you want to go, but the reality is how much do I need to be able to predict the wind, and what are my resources for doing so if I need to?
So, I mean, yeah, there are plenty of resources. What we use here in Exmouth mainly is a weather station, which tells you the wind right now.
The live weather station.
Sorry?
The live weather station.
Yeah, the live weather station, and basically the only real thing we're looking at there is the direction. So we have the sea breeze here, and once it hits southwesterly, we just know it's on. We look at the clouds. Are there any clouds? No clouds. All right, so you know it's gonna be a nice, consistent wind session. Obviously, you're gonna want to know approximately how strong it's gonna be, which the weather station tells you as well. And then in terms of forecasts, it's really not necessarily, because the forecasts, all they do is they can tell you a little bit, give you an idea of how strong it will be. I use mainly 2 kites, so I'll know which kite I will be using. But we're spoiled here. That's what I'm trying to say.
Let me just bring it down into simplicities now, right? Because at its most basic, you know, there are specific weather apps and websites that will do the hard yards for you. So basically, I don't need to predict any weather. I use 2 weather forecastings, and I plan all the kite school and all my own sessions around that. I use seabreeze.com.au as an overview, and I use Windy as a day-to-day. Now, they are very simple, easy to use weather stations. That is realistically all you know. You pick your location. There are variations to your location. Like Marlon was saying, sometimes we get, the sea breeze effect, so we might see a forecast, we know it's going to be slightly stronger than that one, but the general pattern you can get from very basic weather systems. So you absolutely do not need any prior knowledge on predicting wind, because there are, gone are the days of the search in kite surfing. You will know where the wind's going to be on what particular day, and whether it's going to be to your liking, your ability, or your kite size.
Yeah.
Super. All right, mate, let's move on. So we've already done that one. We skipped my list there, so we're getting close. All right, so here's one for you. Now again, keeping it super basic, someone's asking, the question we got asked was, can I go kiting by myself? But that's not necessarily that question. I think the main thing is as a lone person, is kite surfing something that I can get into myself? Do I need to be looking at getting a friend involved from the start? Do I have to be doing it with a partner or a family member? That's the general question. I want to learn to kite surf, but it's just me. Is that possible?
Yeah, so the thing is, we have wherever you go, the kite community, they tend to be very resourceful in the sense to help you out and go out together. It's definitely recommended not to go by yourself.
I think absolutely not to go by yourself.
Yeah, because it's just, when something goes wrong, you want someone else to be there to potentially call help. But yeah, like we wherever you go, there's a kite community, and you can easily find some groups or ask around, and they'll give you pointers, even things you have to be aware of on the site location. So it's always good to stay social, or letting people know that you're here, and also to launch or land your kite, it's best to have someone else there with you.
Yeah, I think good points made there. I think I'd like to add to that this is not surfing. Kite surfing is not surfing. Kite surfing is a very accepting sport. As a community, like Marlon mentioned, you're not going to have that, hey, my wave, my location. So far, I mean, localism doesn't really play into fact as much as it does with surfing. So in saying that, you will find people at your same level and at your same ability. For example, here in Exmouth, we have a really good messenger group for all the local kite surfers. So everyone that learns to kite surf gets put onto that group, and then they can all communicate with, hey, who's going here? I'm going there. What's the wind doing? And it's a really accepting group. So definitely don't let the fact that it's just you wanting to learn be put off. Yeah, great. Great to come into the sport with a buddy, but you will find your buddy pretty quick. So definitely do not let that put you off. No, kite surfing by yourself, as in you on a location with no one else around, that's not smart, because like Marlon said, if something goes wrong, the small problem can escalate quite a lot. But one other person there just to help you out should you need to, happy days. Don't feel limited by your lack of people you already know within our kite surf community, because get ready for it, you're going to find a very friendly, welcoming crew of people in the sport of kite surfing. Alright, so we'll finish off here with a little bit of a question, but also something that I want people to be aware of, and that's a lot of people say, how long does it take to learn to go kite surfing? And I want to sort of break down the reality of what that actually means. Obviously, we run lessons. We run lessons in a 3 hour and 2 hour slots. The most popular options are 2 times 3 hours or 3 times 3 hours, so 2 or 3 days. Now, during that time, here's the reality of it. We're not teaching you to become a perfect kite surfer. What we're doing now is we're trying to give you as many key skills in the shorter time as possible. So obviously, if you came to us every day for lessons for 3 weeks, you'd be a pretty good kite surfer, but the reality is that's going to cost you too much money. So what we try and do is in that short space of time, we fill you with as much knowledge, information and skill for you to then go on and become an independent kiter. So no one leaves a kite lesson or lessons at a perfect level of kiting. It just doesn't happen. So what's going to happen? You're going to finish your kite surf lessons, then you're going to have to commit to putting some time in. Well, actually, sorry, let's start before that. You're going to have to somehow get hold of some equipment. So you can either rent some gear when you're ready to go alone, or you can buy some gear. But those are 2 things you're going to have to commit to. So once you've done that, you're then going to have to put some time in. So we're going to be around. If you're in our area, we're always there to help. So keep an eye on you, watch you, give you a couple of pointers here or there. But the reality is once people come out of lessons, even the ability to stay upwind, which is basically not walking up the beach to your start point, it can take weeks, months,
Varies very much.
Exactly. It varies a lot depending on your skill level and how much time you put in. But what I do say to people is just enjoy the process. You will learn how to kite surf. It is going to happen. And as long as you enjoy every moment of it, you're going to have a fun time along the way. But as long as people understand that this is a sport that it's not really, you're more than welcome to come along for a lesson and have a go, have a try, just see what it's like. But the reality is, once you finish those lessons, you're going to have to commit to making this your sport so it becomes your thing. We're not going to teach you to kite surf in 2 days. We're going to teach you the skills that you need to become a kite surfer and continue practicing independently. So that is what our kite surf lessons are based about. And then we offer support after that to keep going. Yeah. So I think that's pretty much where we're at. That's the main key questions to learn to kite surf. What I would say, guys, is if you've got any more questions, just shout out. I think as a basic overview for all this, if kite surfing is something you're looking at, you like the look of it, you're already halfway there. If you're looking at kite surfing thinking, I'd love to be able to do that, you can do that. Come and see us, book in online, pop in the shop, and we'll show you how it's done.
Sweet.
Cool.
Yeah.
Happy?
Happy. Sweet. I agree.
Fucking hot, man. We've done it. I've got to get that foil out of the sun, man. It's cooking.
Alright.
Let's get
Wait for the drone.
Oh yeah, go on then, quick, let's get that. Well, I guess then we can take the cameras out of it.
Yeah.
Fuck me, man. I'm gonna have a suntan like you out here. You haven't even got a hat on you, nothing. I really